So, false alarm. Let's go ahead and get started. Tonight we'll work on a little bit of gentle movement and then take just a couple of sweet restorative postures. So please have with you nearby 2 blankets and 2 pillows. We'll use those to configure in the absence of any other yoga props like a bolster or blocks. Making do with what we've got is always good stuff. So we're actually going to start, let's actually start in child's pose. So go ahead and come down to hands and knees. And then we'll widen the knees, bring big toes together, and we're just going to press back into a really comfortable child's pose. So whatever that means for your upper body, maybe stack the arms, and we'll just rest the forehead. And anytime we bring our gaze down or close the eyes, it just helps to elicit that rest and digest mode. Letting go of any strains of the day. Beginning to connect, just noticing where your body has contact with itself. Maybe the pressure of the forehead on the back of the wrists, or the weight or the temperature of the skin, where the arms are stacked. And noticing where the backs of the legs connect between the calves and the thighs. And even where the torso may connect to the tops of the thighs. And where we experience each of these points of contact, just allow the body to warm and to soften, knowing that you're supported both structurally and emotionally for your practice tonight. And staying in our child's pose, let's go ahead and just take 3 mindful breaths. So leaving the belly soft, inhaling, feeling expansion all the way around the rib cage. Exhaling, letting those intercostal muscles soften as the rib cage dips down towards the mat. And again, we'll breathe in, releasing any tension that we might be holding elsewhere in the body. And exhaling, allowing the torso to sink towards the mat. One final time, we'll inhale. And exhale. Let's just rock the forehead from side to side. And then we'll bring the head back to center. And carefully we're going to peel ourselves up. And we'll come to tabletop. So with hands beneath the shoulders or slightly forward of the shoulders, we're just going to take some gentle hip circles. So what that means is think about having a Crayola marker dropping down from your belly button, and you're going to draw a circle about the size of a paper plate. So with that visualization in mind, let's go ahead and move clockwise. Just letting the pelvis and the spine as a unit glide around the tops of the thigh bones. And then let's change direction. So go ahead and circle the other way. This doesn't have to be a huge movement. The focus is on the heads of the femurs in the pelvis, so the thigh bones and where they attach to the trunk of the body. Let's go ahead, come back to center. We're going to come into child's pose again, this time with reverse namaste. So we'll bring hands forward and palms together. We're going to bend at the elbows, forehead on the mat, and press the palms behind the head. And take just a couple breaths here. Maybe snuggle the hips back towards the heels. And on your next inhale, go ahead, bring hands back to the mat. On an exhale, we'll peel ourselves up. And just for a moment, we're going to come to seated. So find a comfortable seated position. It doesn't have to be cross-legged. You can sit in hero's pose, easy pose, Baddha Konasana, whatever fits best for you. And we're going to bring palms to heart center. And let's drop the wrists down in line with the elbows. Shoulders stay soft, so we're not hunched up. Shoulders are going to stay soft. We're going to press the right palm into the left palm, keeping shoulders forward, and then we're going to gaze over our right shoulder. Shoulders stay soft, sitting up nice and long. We'll inhale back to center and exhale opposite direction. So pressing towards the right, viewing over your left shoulder. Both shoulders stay soft. And then we'll come back to center. Relax the elbows. Take a moment, press the thumbs into the sternum, into the breastbone. And let's just take a moment here to set our intention. So if you're comfortable to close the eyes, go ahead and close the eyes or soften the gaze towards the foot of your mat. Maybe just offering yourself some loving kindness or some gratitude for committing these 45 minutes of evening practice in your busy life and schedule. Maybe not so busy, but in your life and schedule. And we'll seal that intention with a cleansing breath. So big inhale and release. We'll flutter eyes open and relax the hands down. Let's do a few seated hip circles. We'll bring hands to the kneecaps or the thighs, and we're just going to rotate the pelvis, maybe a clockwise direction to start. You can use your hands. You can even kind of pull your seat up as you move, just making the movement smooth and organic. And we'll change directions. One more time around. And bring up the spine nice and long. If you've got crossed legs, go ahead and change the cross in the legs. Moving now into a seated spinal twist. So we'll sit up nice and tall. We're going to draw our belly button over towards the right thigh. We're going to use the right hand behind the back and the left palm just to the thigh or to the knee. Not necessarily pulling so much as using the arm to keep the spine in line. So the spine is twisting on the axis rather than leaning and twisting and torquing. You want to keep the spine upright to twist. And let's look over our right shoulder. So peek back over the shoulder. Shoulders stay soft. Low body's relaxed. And then let's rotate the head back to neutral and look over the left shoulder. And just notice if that changed anything for your posture, for your breath. And then we'll bring the head back to neutral. We'll unwind the body and let's roll the shoulders up, back, and down. One last time. And we'll take the seated spinal twist towards the left. So again, we'll stay on this axis nice and tall. We'll bring the left hand behind, reaching towards the left side. So right hand to the left knee or thigh. Again, we're not leaning forward, we're also not leaning back. You might experience more stretch if you lean, but what we're trying to do is maintain that integrity of the spinal column. We'll turn the head to look back over the left shoulder. And again, just connect with our breath. And on your next inhale, bring the head back to center. On an exhale, we're going to rotate the head to look towards the right. Hi, Sadie. And then bring the head back to center and rotate back to seated. Let's go ahead and come into hero's pose. If you're not good being on your knees, you're welcome to just stay in a seat. Otherwise, we'll sweep the legs to the side and bring our booty down towards our heels. This is actually a really nice place to grab a pillow if you've got one of your pillows nearby, and just tuck your pillow between your booty and your heels. And we're going to bring the hands together. And we're going to bring the arms out. A little bit of work for the shoulders. Bring the hands up to prayer and point the fingertips back towards the chest. So we'll bring them up and then push them forward, and then elbows retract and back to prayer. And push forward and back in and up, forward and in and up. And then we'll relax hands down. All right, go ahead and come out of your hero's pose. Place your pillow off to the side. And from here, we're going to come onto our spine. So we'll do a gentle sequence, a little reclined vinyasa, very gentle sequence, and then we'll move into some restorative postures. So have your props nearby. We don't need any initially. And I'd like you to have a little bit of clearance around the top of your mat. So give yourself a little bit of space. I'm going to go ahead and just rotate where I don't have as many props. And pull my blocks out of the way. So we'll lay down long on our mats, making sure you've got clearance around your head. And let's just extend both legs long. We've had our knees bent since we started practice. And take a moment here, turn the palms to face up. Let the legs relax, the toes drop open. And take a moment and just find your breath, reconnect. And feel the length of your legs extending from the torso. Feel the length of your torso extending from the legs. And feel the opposition, the crown of the head drawing away from the soles of the feet, almost as though you're getting longer just lying here supported by your mat. And here, let's take a cleansing breath. So inhale and exhale. Let's roll the palms to face down. We're going to step the feet in. And we're going to bring the knees up to tabletop. So shins parallel to the floor, keeping that neutral spine. So rather than pulling the knees deeply in, we'll just leave the spine neutral, so a little bit of space behind the low back, and we'll have the legs extended. And we're just going to straighten the legs up towards the ceiling and then flex the feet. And then point the toes and bend the knees, shins back to parallel. So let's do it again. Point the toes up towards the ceiling and then flex the feet, spread the toes. And then point the toes towards the ceiling, bend the knees, shins parallel to the floor. 2 more times. And once the shins have come back to parallel, go ahead and grab onto the knees. bring the knees in towards the chest. We're just going to rock softly from side to side. So staying with that movement in the lower body, we're going to add some movement for the upper body. So let's go ahead and bring, again, shins parallel to the floor. This time as we extend, we're going to lift our arms up overhead as we reach feet towards the ceiling. Flex the feet, spread the toes, and then we'll bring the toes back to parallel with the floor with the arms back down. Let's do that 3 more times. So inhale, lengthen, extend the legs towards the ceiling, flex the feet, reach the fingertips back. And on an exhale, bending the knees, bringing shins to parallel. 2 more times. And once you have the knees back to parallel, go ahead, drop knees towards the chest. Let's grab onto these, we'll draw some circles. And then change directions with your circles. And we'll slowly come back to center. Let's step both feet to the mat. And we'll separate the feet as wide as the mat. Arms out into a T, so just arms out shoulder height. We'll bring the knees towards one another. And then we're gonna drop both knees over to the left or the right. There we go. And then back through center and over to the left. And we'll move with our breath. So we'll inhale back to center and exhale to drop to one side. Inhale back to center and exhale, dropping to the opposite side. So just move with the breath. And maybe moving through these postures, notice the change in the contact of the feet with your mat. So we tend to notice more maybe in the hips or in the abdomen. We notice sort of stretch, but this time let's focus on the rootedness of the feet. So even though the feet change their contact, we still have points of contact with both feet at the mat at all times. And when you feel even on both sides, go ahead and bring both knees back up. We'll heel toe the feet in and release the arms down along the side of the body. And we'll step our feet a little bit closer in towards our bum. And we're just going to take a really light rolling bridge. So pressing down through the feet, we'll press the low back into the mat. We're going to peel the pelvis off of the mat, just lifting up to a comfortable height. And then on the exhale, we'll release the spine back down and release the hips to neutral. So on an inhale, press the belly down, press through the feet, lift. And on an exhale, releasing back down. If it doesn't feel good to curl the spine up and down, you can always just lift in one motion. But we really want this to be a gentle movement, a soothing, rocking action. So go ahead and move at your own pace, follow the breath, maybe close the eyes. And again, maybe just notice where you feel grounded. So as you press the hips up, notice where the spine has contact with the mat, where it loses contact as it peels up, and then where it regains contact as you roll back down. Let's do that one more time. And then coming back to stillness, let's separate the feet as wide as the mat. We'll bring the knees in towards one another. We're just going to rest our hands on our hip creases. So it's broad through the chest, broad through the shoulders. We'll just take a moment to check back in with the body. Maybe give yourself a moment, a few belly breaths. And then we'll bring the hands back down along the side of the body. We'll heel toe the feet back to parallel. We're going to do that bridge movement again, this time including an arm. So on our inhale, we're going to lift the hips off the mat, reach our arm up overhead. And as we exhale, we'll lower the hips, lower the hand. And we'll do that 5 times per side. So on your inhale, lift the hips, reach up overhead, exhale, bring the arm back down. Another option is to inhale the arm up overhead. As you exhale, sweep the arm down and turn your head to the opposite side. So if that feels more natural, you can take that. Otherwise, 2 more times on this side. Inhaling to lift and exhaling to bring the hips back down. Now let's take a moment and pause. We'll separate the feet, bring the knees together. And again, just bring the hands to the pelvis and check back in with your breath. And let's go ahead and take the other side. So let's heel toe the feet back to parallel. Extend both hands down towards the heels. Opposite side. So we'll inhale, lift the hips, reach the arm up overhead. Exhale. Again, bringing the hips and the hand back to the mat. So the other variation again is to inhale, to lift up the hips, lift the arm. Exhale, you can sweep the arm out wide, turn the head to the opposite side. So if that feels better, you can bring yourself back to center and take that option. So inhaling, lifting up, and exhaling, fanning the arm around as you turn the head, or just keep it linear. Inhaling to lift, and exhaling to release back down. Let's do one more on this side. Inhaling to lift, and exhaling to come back down. And from here, let's actually bring soles of the feet together. We'll bring the knees wide into Supta Baddha Konasana. So this is a little bit of a strain, possibly, if you're used to having the legs supported. We will take a supported version of this as part of our practice tonight, but we'll just take a moment here. And sometimes it helps if you have the elbows bent to just bring the hands underneath the sits bones. Sometimes that gives a little bit of relief to the hips, to the low back. Let's just take 3 mindful breaths. And go ahead, bring hands to the outsides of the thighs. We'll help the legs back in. And from here, we're going to come into a reclined twist. So let's go ahead and just roll to one side as though we're seated in a chair. We'll have the bottom arm extended forward, and we're just going to open up the top arm to come into a T and hang out in our reclined twist. If this reclined twist with no props is not appropriate, if you need to realign and grab a pillow between the knees or a little blanket for underneath the shoulder, go ahead and grab a prop and make yourself comfortable. We'll be here for about 1.5 minutes. And if it feels good to turn your head the opposite direction of the knees, you can just roll your head the other way. Let's roll the head back to neutral. We'll bring feet to the mat, roll the spine back to neutral. Step the feet in, square off the hips. Let's bring the knees towards the chest and either give ourselves a rock from side to side or circle the knees. And if you use props on the other side, go ahead, grab your props. We'll take the opposite side. So we'll bring our feet to the mat. And just so I'm facing the camera, I'm going to go ahead and switch directions, but you can just stay and face the opposite direction. And we're going to roll over to one side like we're seated in a chair. Bottom arm extends out shoulder height. We'll take this top arm and we're just going to roll it open towards the other side. And your knees don't have to be perfectly aligned. You can have knees deeply bent in towards the chest. You can have them extended a little bit further. Just see what works best for your spine. And wherever you are tonight, that's enough. Again, the head could rotate away from the knees. Just see where you are. Adjust accordingly. Let's take 2 more breaths on this side. And we'll rotate the head back to center. And bring the knees towards the chest, roll back to center. Arms down along the side of the body. We'll square off the hips. And again, let's just bring hands towards the ribs and we're just going to drop knees from side to side. So a little bit of windshield wiper action with the knees. And again, when you feel even on both sides, go ahead and come back to seated. Grab onto the back of your thigh. We're going to pull ourselves up, right, coming to seated to get set up for one of our restorative postures. So the first restorative posture I'd like us to practice is just a chest opener, really simple chest opener. We're only going to use a rolled or folded blanket. So what I'd like you to do is take your blanket, maybe about yay wide, so lengthwise. We want it to be at least as long as our torso, maybe just a little bit longer. Because if you have it just a little bit longer, you can actually roll the back end of it to support the neck. But we'll take our blanket and either fold it in thirds or quarters, or you can roll it. And if you want to roll it, that's just going to be a lot more intense for where the spine will lay. So I would recommend probably trying the triple fold or the quarter fold to start, making sure that it's even. You don't have a big cavern underneath the center. And we're just going to bring that blanket lengthwise on our mat. And actually I'm going to roll the other way. Get away from the cat. So with the blanket lengthwise on our mat, we're going to bring our sits bones right up to the edge of the blanket. And sit up nice and tall, and then we're going to recline back, separating the feet as wide as the mat, bringing the knees together. Maybe taking the end of that blanket if you have extra length, and just rolling it to support the back of the neck. And from here, we're just going to come into a cactus pose. So if your hands are floating off of the ground or your elbows are floating, go ahead and grab your pillows and bring your pillows underneath the arms. Otherwise, we'll keep the back of the neck supported, the spine supported. We've got a little bit of leeway, a little bit of space around the scapula. So as we open the palms to face the ceiling, we can broaden across the chest. And again, if any part of this is really intense, just go ahead and modify. And as I'm here, even just next to my bookshelf. I know I need a little bit more height on this side. I'm just going to grab my El Capitan 1992 yearbook and bring my hand up so it's a little bit less strain. So we're working with that. What you've got is a nice place to be. We can be the MacGyvers of yoga. So take a moment here with your spine supported and just notice how much space you have to breathe in this posture. And by taking fuller breaths and engaging the expansion of the abdominal cavity as we breathe in and the lungs expand, we're stimulating the nervous system in a positive way. We're stimulating the lymphatic system, all of the lymph nodes that we've got and down and around our belly and in our solar plexus area. All of this is getting stimulated by bringing this breath into the full extent of the upper body. So maybe take a full yogic breath where the belly is soft and you inhale into the lowest extent of the lungs and continue to cycle that air upward towards the heart and towards the collarbones. And then exhale. And notice the weight of the body sink down into your supportive blanket. So again, with cactus arms, let's go ahead and just follow that full yogic breath. The lowest extent of the lungs as we breathe in, drawing the air upwards, not full capacity, and then we'll exhale. Notice as you lie here breathing, what else can you relax? I just noticed I was splaying my fingers out. My palms are wide open. There's no need for that. You can soften the palms, soften your toes. Allow the tongue to fall to the floor of the mouth. Let the eyes rest in their sockets. Let's take 2 more breaths in this posture. And on your next exhalation, go ahead and bring the arms back in line with the spine, so hands down towards the hips. We're just going to heel toe the feet back to parallel. We're going to roll to one side and just draw our blanket off of our mat. And then we'll peel ourselves up and we'll get set up for the next posture. So for the next one, we're going to use our pillows and our blankets to come into Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined bound angle pose. So go ahead and grab your 2 pillows or a folded blanket. And whether or not you decide to use another blanket is up to you. What I wanted us to do is actually use that blanket for a little bit of weight across the belly. So rather than recline on an angle like we do with a bolster, if you have a bolster and block and you're able to recline on an angle, go ahead and do that. But if you don't have one, it's okay for us just to lie flat. So blanket number 1, if you want to just have a little bit of padding underneath the back of the neck, just give it a light fold. You can bring one blanket behind the head. But otherwise, what we're going to do is use the length of our mat. We're going to sit up nice and tall. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together with the knees wide. We're going to take our pillows and just bring them underneath the thighs to support the thighs. And blanket number 1 we can put behind the head if you have a blanket and want a little bit extra cushion. Otherwise, we'll use this one to bring a little bit of weight to the belly. So with the knees wide and the feet together, we'll go ahead and recline back. And you may need to lean back and adjust and bring your feet in or separate them out a little further. But we'll open the knees, recline back. Arms are wherever they're comfortable. If you want to come back to that cactus pose, you can. If you want hands on the belly, that's fine. But what I wanted to invite you to do is to use your blanket for either a little bit of weight just across the belly, just to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system by having a little bit of weight on the belly. Or another option is you can actually place it across the legs where it adds a little bit of weight, just gentle amount of weight to the inner thighs. So wherever that feels better tonight, or you don't need to use the blanket at all. It's gotten hot here, so if you don't want to use the blanket, you don't have to. But otherwise, we'll be here for probably about 4 minutes. So make sure that you're ultimately comfortable. With a restorative posture, it doesn't get better if you're uncomfortable to start. It's better to just take the time to get yourself set up. So if it turns out your pillows are not quite high enough, go grab another pillow or a towel or something else that's comfortable to help support the legs. But we'll be here for about 4 minutes, so we'll just take a moment, bringing the hands to a comfortable position. Maybe make sure the shoulder blades are in comfortable contact with the mat. Again, kind of ending where we started, noticing the connection where your body has contact with itself. So that may be the soles of the feet or the space behind the knees. Might be the hands or the torso, touching the arms, touching the torso. And that little point where the lips connect and the eyelids close. And while it's common to have the tongue pressed to the floor of the mouth, see if you can detach the tongue and just let it hang lightly in the mouth. Either working on that full yogic breath, an abdominal breath, or just letting your breath inspire and expire naturally. So whatever that rhythm is, it keeps you sustained. Just let it flow. And let's take 5 more mindful breaths in our reclined bound ankle pose. Maybe deepening the inhalations or extending the exhalations. Using each breath to bring a little bit more vitality back into the cells, back into the extremities. Noticing an increase in movement with each breath. Starting to bring some intentional movement back to fingers and toes. And we'll rock the head lightly from side to side. And then bring the head back to center. Keep the legs where they are. Let's take an inhale and reach arms up towards the short end of our mat. We'll reach up. Nice long stretch for the upper body. Maybe yawn. And on an exhale, let's bring the arms back down. We'll scoop the hands to the outsides of the thighs. We're going to help the legs back together. Heel toe the feet apart, or at least to neutral. And we'll remove our pillows. Remove our blanket. We're going to roll to one side. And then we're gently going to press up to seated to close our class. So leave the head low as you gently peel yourself up. Repositioning in a way that's comfortable for you. So whether that's crossed legs or sitting in a chair or sitting on a prop, a folded blanket or bolster. We'll just bring the spine upright. And taking one nice inhale, let's sweep the arms up overhead. We're going to reach, lift, and lengthen, and we'll exhale to drop palms to heart center. Pressing the thumbs lightly into the sternum once again, we'll bow the head. Sending out a vibration of gratitude and loving kindness to our fellow students who've practiced with us tonight. And reserving just a little bit of that kindness and gratitude towards ourselves, having practiced for ourselves this beautiful evening. And then bringing the head back up to neutral, we'll close this evening's class with a final cleansing breath. So full inhale and release. And as always, I'm so grateful that you're able to join me here tonight. Thank you so very much for dedicating your practice. The light within me sees and honors the light within you. Namaste.